Welcome everybody. John Zager. This is my third video for YouTube around self-healing. And I got to get my time right. I've been running over. Brief background about myself. 38 years clinical psychology, last 5 years doing research. Kind of psychology, neuroscience with self-healing. Seems to be the trendy thing, a lot of stuff going on, very prominent people lecturing and talking about self-healing, mostly about physical ailments, that kind of thing, spontaneous recovery. It's kind of interesting, side note. If you're Christian or believe, have a faith, people seem, if they recover from cancers, like unexpectedly, it's a miracle. And if you're, I don't know, kind of not Christian, they call that spontaneous remission. I'm not sure, but anyway, that's kind of a side thing. My background is psychology, and that has to do mental health. And I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know about that stuff that they talk about, other than everything that I read and watch and absorb. My understanding is mental health issues. More specifically, I spent most of my career on compulsive disorders, alcoholism, drug addiction, gambling, sex addiction, stuff like that. And so that's my background. I've treated every conceivable mental health diagnosis there is. 38 years I did clinical. I stopped doing clinical at the end of 38 years. Haven't done clinical since then. I've just done research. And actually that was 2008. I took a sabbatical for a couple, 2-3 years, and then I started the research in self-healing. So I'm also real familiar with, depression, anxiety, stuff like that. And self-healing, to me, the approach I'm taking, different from the other guys on YouTube and out there lecturing and doing workshops, is that I want to do self-healing from the perspective of mental health. And they're very similar. If people can, through thought alone, and the procedure that they give you to go through in order to possibly self-heal, diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, whatever you have. It doesn't matter what you have. People all over the world are self-healing themselves with that. Why can't you do mental health stuff as well? And that's my angle. So today, just briefly, I'm going to talk about that. And then the second thing I do in all my videos is talk about, let's see, I guess it would be Dr. Joe Dispenza, which leading neuroscientist on self-healing. He has a procedure that you go through, which is basically meditation and getting to certain levels to where you can erase some of the stuff you've had in the past and put in new things, and you can end up with recovery and self-healing from all kinds of physical kinds of stuff. I can't afford to go to his training, so I've watched everything, listened to everything that he has available, and that's kind of part of my background is just my research has been in that. But why can't you do that with mental health stuff, is my contention. And again, he might say very much, Sure, of course you can. But I don't see anybody out there doing it. So how would I approach this? If you're depressed and anxious, they kind of go hand in hand. What you're doing, your depression and your anxiety, is causing your stress hormones to be fired off, which is what he would probably say. And your stress hormones will eventually, if they're fired off on a regular basis for a long, long period of time, they're going to cause disease, right? Physical disease. Well, in our stressful lives, every day, we can fire off stress hormones, get the adrenaline going, that kind of thing. And I'm just saying, if a person ended up doing that and became depressed and had intense anxiety, which would eventually probably lead to hypertension, might be a possibility. Why can't we erase some of the stuff that's in our brains that lead us to firing off stress hormones? All right, so hear me through on this. I'll try to be brief because I just get rambling and going long and long, actually too long. So what I understand is the first 35 years of your life, it's what you think, act, and feel determines your personality, and from that point on, we sort of continue to live that same personality and do the same things over and over and over again. Probably true. Change is difficult for people, right? I used to say to my clients, it's like having a toothache. You're going to go to the dentist when you have a toothache, not when you need to have your teeth cleaned. Same principle here. If we're in so much turmoil, stress, that we become depressed, anxious, and I don't know, maybe hypertension, we'll just use that as an example, why don't you change that? Why don't you change that? And that's what we're talking about, the thought process, So what we have to do is go in to our thinking and erase some of the old scripts that we had, so to speak, that lead us to the same behavior, the same thoughts, and the same personality. And why don't we go in and change some of that to a healthier way of dealing with life and eliminating the stress? So, and that's what we do in psychology. I mean, we obviously go back and we try to erase some of that stuff and put new stuff in. Dr. Joe Dispenza, and again, I have no connection with him, and here I am in a t-shirt, sweatshirt, but he uses meditation. One of the things he does is meditation. And if you can get yourself in a state, there's different levels of meditation and that kind of thing. I'll go into that on another episode. But for right now, we can use meditation on a daily basis to erase some of the old stuff and put in healthy, new ways of thinking. Change our personality, the way we think, act, and feel, right? Change our thinking, change how we act, change how we feel. So if we can do that through meditation, right, wouldn't that theoretically reduce or eliminate the stress in our lives. Could, because our perspective of reality has now changed. Our personality has changed. The way we view the world around us has changed. And what might have been fight or flight in the past doesn't have to be any longer, right? So maybe we don't have to fire off the stress hormones. Maybe we're able to fire off healthy hormones that affect us a whole lot differently. So that's kind of the angle I want to take. You can biologically, give the medication. I'm not a doctor, so please understand that. Whatever regimen you're on with your psychiatrist or doctor, do whatever they say to do. All that I'm saying is, like hypertensive medication, the side effects, as far as I'm concerned, are worse than the actual hypertension. Probably die more of the side effects than you would of the hypertension. I'm saying the same thing of, let's use depressant medication, psychotropics, right? So maybe the medication for depression, for example, might have side effects, might not touch you. I'll go back and get the research. I apologize, but I believe the results of people taking depressive medication, the results are significant but minimal at best. Doesn't work. Probably doesn't work a lot of the time. And maybe we need to look at something different. Okay? It's the whole theory with genetics and Dr. Bruce Lipton epigenetics. In the old day, everything we believed was if your family had it, you're going to have it, or the high probability of getting it. Well, that's not true. Genetics has nothing to do with it, in my estimation. I believe it's environment, where you lived, how you lived, what it looked like around you, what you were exposed to, and modeling. Who are the people that were depressed in your family, and how did they act, and how did that impact you? I believe that's where you get the script that says you're going to be depressed. Now, if your personality is different, the way you think, act, and feel, if you think different than that, why do you ever have to have depression? I understand people get down. I'm not talking about that. But why do you have to be clinically depressed? Because your mother was clinically depressed, you're going to be? No. Because your father? No. Because your family had some mental health stuff? No. You don't have to have mental health issues if your family did. Get over it. That's not an identity you need any longer. It's not an identity you need. I gotta have some coffee. So I guess, some of that stuff needs to kind of change a little bit. And I believe that the self-healing concept works. And through the technique of meditation, we can learn to change some of that kind of stuff. That's where I'm going. So I guess I gave a brief little bit of information there about my interests is more in the mental health area rather than in the physical, and self-healing certainly can happen in mental health issues as well as physical. So, second part of my video, and I have to keep these more brief, I guess, is what my understanding is. The second part of the video has to do with I am doing everything that Dr. Joe Dispenza has explained through his meditation. And I'm working on hypertension, okay, high blood pressure. And I'm trying to get it down so that I don't have to use the medication and all the terrible, terrible side effects that come with. My first two videos I reported after, I don't know, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks of doing these meditations religiously every day, every evening. They take about 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm very specific about how I do them, and trying to focus on what it would be like without hypertension, attach an emotion to that, erase some of the old scripts. I don't believe that because my family might have had some hypertension that I'm supposed to have hypertension. I think I've gotten it because of the environmental place I grew up and the modeling that occurred. Same thing with, there is some history of some diabetes. I don't have diabetes. I don't ever care to have diabetes, and I won't. It's back to self-healing. I'm going to do this very, very briefly. If you're going to die, you're going to die of old age. Quit dying of cancer and all these terminal illnesses that people want to have. Just go and be happy. So anyway, my hypertension study, that's the second half of what I'm doing in each video. Again, in the past week, I went ahead and did my meditations. They take me about 45 minutes to an hour. I go through each muscle part. I go through each organ. I make sure that there are no constrictions or restrictions in my arteries or veins. I try to identify that. I visualize like a vein or an artery that might be closing a little bit, and I actually try to work towards opening it visually in my head, and trying to see progress that way. My pituitary gland, above the kidneys, that fires off the stress hormones, I've now gone and tried to identify that and taken away the possibility of its need to fire stress hormones over different parts of my life that are going on. So I'm working diligently on this project. I would like to go to one of his workshops, but again, I applied for a scholarship, couldn't get in. I don't know why. I certainly don't make enough money. But the result for this week is that there was no reduction in my blood pressure. It remains the same that it's been. So I must be doing something wrong. I must not be doing it correctly. Maybe it takes a longer period of time. Maybe I need to get more information on what I might be doing wrong in my meditations to help eliminate the hypertension. So anyway, there's week number 3. No progress. Don't give up, you guys. Don't give up hope. The one thing I'm here for is to inspire and empower, and it's going to work. We have to stick with this. We have to continue doing our work and our research and passing it on. By the way, I may not. Well, I guess let me put it this way. I'm available for talks, for presentations, for workshops, to sit down with a group of people, to lecture on different areas that I might know. And again, more towards the mental health side with, gosh darn, 40-some years of mental health. I'm happy. Just contact me, call me, email me, whatever you want to do, and let me know, and I'm available. Number 2, I self-support myself. I say this in every video. I hope I don't offend anybody, but If you have any money, $5, $10, $50, $100, send it to my PayPal account, which is just jzegar@gmail.com. JZEGAR@gmail.com. It's the only way that I support myself. The first two videos, by the way, just to make you all feel guilty, I've received no money whatsoever. I'm not doing webinars to where, they give you a little bit and then they ask for money for a program or something like that. I'm not doing that. I'm going to give you the program. I'm going to show you exactly what works. I'm going to give you history every week. So again, I'm going to try to stop at this point because I keep running too long. And thank you very much for listening. Please come back and listen again. Next week I will have video number 4. I hope to get better and better at doing this, at being able to self-heal, and at being able to give you guys information to better take care of yourselves and your lives. God bless. See y'all.